Hey folks. So I just got back from picking back up a pig. This is why it is so important to me that customers maintain contact with you. You buy a pig, work on staying in contact with the breeder. Whether that's because there's no issues and you're just like, hey, here's how so and so's doing, or hey, there's a problem. I hope that the vast majority of the pigs that I kick out are doing great, don't have any issues. Sorry, my hand's resting on the crate and he's moving. But things happen. I've got pigs from wonderful breeders that wind up having problems, or seen pigs from some really great breeders that wind up later having problems. But people don't always reach back out and contact the breeder and say, hey, this is what that pig turned out to look like, or here's, what has happened. So make sure that you're working and in communication with your breeder, because I guarantee you, we all want our business to be successful, right? And do the best that we can, because that's how our businesses are successful. We don't leave a trail of disgruntled customers around everywhere, right? If you want to be in business a long time, you need to keep your customers happy within reason. So they'd sent me some pictures of this piglet, and they'd noticed his top line was a bit off. I wish I'd responded a little faster, but I'd opened it while driving, and that happens sometimes. I'd see it and I either accidentally hit it or think, oh, it's a quick little thing, and I can just look at it real quick. And sometimes it's like, oh, no, it's longer. And then I forget to see it again later and respond. So it took me about a day or two, I think, to respond back to him, maybe 3. And finally got looking at that video and I thought, wow, that does look odd. It's not real great. And I thought maybe he'd grow out of it. Wouldn't be that big a deal. Asked him to send me a video. And they sent me a video and it definitely looked off. Still had kind of hoped that maybe it was just he pulled a muscle while being transported or running around and playing, because I've never seen this issue before. Right, so I've seen it in textbooks when I was getting my animal science degree, but when you see it in textbook, it's like very pronounced and it's on slightly older pigs. This is on a like 6-7 week old piglet, so it doesn't look very pronounced yet. It's pronounced. Don't get me wrong. Now that I'm looking at him in person, I'm really glad we went this route. But looking at it, it kind of was just like, well, maybe it's just how he's standing, or it's still not quite right. And it's still one of those ones that if they did take the option, I gave him a couple options. One option was to let's just let him grow out and see what he does, and if he doesn't look great, then we'll replace him. No big deal. Unfortunately, wouldn't be able to replace him until this fall's litters, which would set them behind, which they're already. Well, sorry, I'll keep going. So then the other option was that because I wanted to see based on that video, I want to see how he grows out myself. And it not be one of those things that the customer doesn't wind up reaching back out and keeping me updated on how he goes. So it was like, well, other option is I'll give them a full refund. Just right off the bat here, give them a full refund and drive out and pick him up myself, which is about 2 hours one way. So round trip, I think it was like $70 in gas in our truck. But want to make sure that I do the best I can to go above and beyond and make their experience good. They do have 3 other feeders from me and 2 gilts, and all 5 of them look great. So this is definitely an isolated thing. None of the others I've seen this year have had that, which then leads into, so what we think it is potentially kyphosis, which would be hunchback. I'm not an expert in it. Little bit of stuff in college on it, not much. It's kind of a weird thing. And it seemed very blatantly obvious when you look at those pictures of older pigs that have it, which is what they showed a lot of. And you see a lot of piglets. Seeing it here on this one, it's like, well, that's probably what it is. Lost my train of thought. Sorry, this is just so weird for me. But the last several days, since we've been talking and I wasn't able to immediately go get it, had to schedule it out for a few days to find time to be able to run out and grab this guy. And so I've been reading as much as I can about it to refresh and try to just figure out what everybody's saying. And it looks like it doesn't usually present itself until about 5 to 6 weeks old, which that'd be about right with when we send him home. So then they noticed it about a week into having him, 3-4 days to a week in. So between that 3 to 7 day mark, which would put him about 6-7 weeks old. They're right about when they say it really begins to present itself. They're not 100% sure based on the research I was reading on complete causes for it. One of the causes that they find it most in commercial houses is a vitamin D deficiency, which obviously in pastured pigs, and vitamin D deficiency in sows, obviously not a problem in our herd, right? They get tons of sunshine. They're never in a barn. So that's not it. There's potential for calcium or phosphorus deficiency. So we don't give as much mineral as we used to. So maybe, but I'm not real convinced it's that one because it's in one piglet. Now, if this showed up in several piglets throughout the litter, okay, maybe like that would be but you know, we had 40 or 50 something piglets this spring and one piglet had it. So if it was an actual dietary deficiency, I would expect to see it in more piglets. And I haven't. So not thinking it's that. One of the other things that could cause it would be severe stress. That's possible, but again, I would expect to see it in more pigs. The other could be an injury. So a spinal injury that then damages a vertebra and then causes that vertebra to fuse in with the others and round up. And that seems to me to be the most likely thing. Oh, because the other thing is it can have a genetic component. But that genetic component, I'm not really seeing because we've never seen this before. And this is out of a pairing that we have done many times and never seen this. So, that pairing has probably had, I don't know, at least 40 piglets. So it never had that issue. So I don't think that that's the problem here. I think it's probably an injury. So this is out of that litter of biscuits where she squished half of the litter of 14. So there were only 7 that made it. So I don't doubt that he got laid on or pushed up against the wall and injured and survived, whereas other siblings didn't, right? So there's very strong possibility that that's it. I'm going to lean on that one for now, unless, I notice it in other litters or something like that goes to adjust my view on this. But at the moment, that's what I'm looking at and thinking that may be the cause of it. But again, that's just going with what evidence I have based from the research I've done and based off of none of the other piglets have this from this litter or any litter in the past that I've had. So we will continue to keep an eye on it. It's not crazy pronounced right now. It's still pronounced. You can still see it, but it's not crazy. I'm going to show you pictures of him or video here real quick. And then I'm going to castrate him and throw him out with the rest of the feeders. I'm not going to bother quarantining him because he was only off our farm for like a week and a half. And the farm that he went to, and that's the most important part of this, not the fact that he was only gone for a week and a half, but the farm that he went to has no other pigs but my pigs from that batch I just sent them. So there are no other pigs there, and I just obviously went to their farm to look around. There's no other pigs anywhere around. They've got miles of open hay field and stuff like that around them. There's no close by pig barn or anything like that. And they were in a small horse stall with attached outer kennel area. So beyond the one time that he said they managed to get out and run around the house real quick and then shoot right back in, I haven't really been out of that area. So they don't really have any opportunity to have been exposed to anything else unless a bird carried it in or something, which is just as likely to happen on my farm. So, I'm pretty sure that I most likely have pigs closer than our neighbor's hogs than they did there based on what I could see around me. I'm going to get him to stand back up and then I'll show you what he looks like. And I'm not going to show you castrating him. If you want to see piglets castrated, then head on over to our Patreon. And we have got a castration video up there. It's one of those videos that we're a little hesitant to put on YouTube in case, it gets flagged for animal cruelty or anything like that, or it being grotesque, or gore or whatever. We looked through the community guidelines. And while there are piglet castration videos on YouTube at the moment, it's one of those things that I'm not willing to risk losing our entire channel over. So we put it up on our Patreon. It's on the $10 benchmark. So really, that's the cost of a bag of feed. Actually, it's cheaper than the cost of a bag of feed right now, per month. So honestly, if you want, you just drop to $10. You can watch that video. It's like 20, 30 minutes. We go pretty slow through it. You can watch it as many times as you want. And at the end of the month, either don't subscribe back or, hopefully you do. Hopefully, once we get a couple of subscribers, currently we had no subscribers because we just got it up this week here. but we get even one subscriber, I will make sure to continue to throw content on there that is worth you paying $10 a month, less than a bag of feed. For those of you that are going to follow it for the yoga, which we'll start throwing on there pretty soon, less than the cost of a drop-in. We'll make sure to put up 1 to 2 videos a week that are a full hour-long session. So for the cost of one drop-in, or just less than one drop-in a month, you'll get, that'd be 4 to 8 yoga classes a month, tailored to, not specifically for anybody can do it and it'll be worth anybody, but kind of focusing on some of those issues that I find with farmers to try to help us not have those back pain and injuries, to be able to be better at stepping out when we're going to fall. You know, we're bumbling in and around pigs and other livestock. They're trying to push us over. We need to have that balance. We need to work on that, and we need to work on that strength and conditioning of the lower spine, so that we're not causing injuries and we have long, successful lives as farmers. So, sorry, long ramble on that, but we're going to look at the pig real quick, see if we can get him to stand up. All right. So we can see here, there is a pronounced bump on the back, and that's why I was really, really happy. This, I don't feel like it was quite as bad as this when they sent me that first picture and video. Oh, he's gonna lay down now. When they sent me that first, well, you can still see it here. When they sent me that first picture and video, it has definitely continued. Now, the video they sent me, I do think, like I saw that, and that was what the like, oh gosh, I need to start giving them options to resolve this. Because either they've got a feeder that could have health problems now, because it definitely wasn't going to be a breeder. Like, even if he grew out of it, unless he grew out of it and wound up looking perfectly fine, which that video really had me second guessing the more times I watched it. And our conversation definitely ramped up from that. There's more times I watched it, me going, I need to replace this. Like, this is not okay. Which they chose, and like I said, I'm really glad they did choose that now that I got to go see him in person, bring him back to my farm, and I can watch and see how this turns out, how this grows out. But yeah, you can definitely see that, and that descriptor of when you read online, and it really looks like it in this video. He'll stay back up. It looks like, and they had made a comment at it, and then in my research I remembered reading that it looks like 2 pigs stuck together. Like, that back end sits up real high, and then other piglet, smaller piglet. So it's dipped shoulder syndrome, or kyphosis, or hunchback, also known as lordosis. 1,000 names for it. But that's, yeah, not what we want in a breeder in any form or fashion. So I don't know really how I missed it. I looked back at the picture I had taken of him as a breeder, and you know, I did see a little dip in the shoulders, but I had attributed it to, he looked scared out of his mind in the picture box, and he was one that kept trying to jump out. So I thought, you know, he's dipping his shoulders and he's rising up because he kept trying to jump out. So I was blaming it on that, because I didn't think it looked terrible when he just stood steady and still. Not more than I was just attributing it to him being terrified. Because he always pulled out of the crate, he's just freaking out. And then I went back and looked at another video that was taken a day or two before he went to them, and I noticed a little bit more of a hump. So not crazy, but enough that I was like, you know, in hindsight, because always, hindsight's 20/20, we can always then go, oh yeah. Then I noticed a little bit more and was like, man, I wish I'd have noticed that in the yard. It's another call for, as breeders and as a breeder myself, I should have spent more time sitting out in the yard watching the piglets and better evaluating, making that last minute call of, I'm sorry, so that they didn't even have to pick them up. They would have still had to pick their other ones up from us, but yeah, I feel bad that they even had to go through this situation. So, but glad that we were able to work through to make it right, you know, by giving them that full refund and driving out to pick him up. 2 hours, so they didn't have to make another trip to drive out and get him, or to bring him back out to me, or deal with castrating him and them having a feeder with a potential, what could be debilitating. From my research, it shows that it's not often that fatal. It can be fatal, but it's not often. Most of the time, they will wind up living a healthy life. If it looks like it's causing him problems, I will then send him into the processor sooner, or if it's real bad before he gets very large, we'll do him as a roast hog and see if I can find a big old smoker. And just process them on farm for it. And then we also, to try to make sure, like, obviously once you're a breeder for a while, you develop connections. So I went through and got them 3 breeders that all potentially had a boar that could match up with theirs, and sent them those contacts and connections, and touched base with those breeders to make sure that, hey, I've got this customer, they may be reaching out to you, looking at their papers where I could to find out, like, I just wanted to make sure that they get a breeder as fast as possible to replace this guy, even though I couldn't replace him. Wanted to do everything I could to try to make that right. So fingers crossed it all works out good for them in the end, and that they, that they appreciate that to the best of my abilities. I will definitely be watching going forwards to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. That's how we learn. None of us know it all. I certainly don't. And I hope that that comes through in these videos, that like I'm still learning too, and always willing to accept new information. So no one ever knows it all, and mistakes happen. This is how we learn. We see things like this, and that's why I'm making these videos. Going on a limb here, showing that like I've got a pig with a problem that I had potentially sold as a breeder, right? So that could look bad, but I want you to see like a good breeder goes back and tries to resolve this. So just do what you can, learn from your mistakes, because we're all going to make them. Hopefully me showing you this helps you learn from a mistake that I have made and helps you go forwards and grow as a breeder. So alrighty folks, I'm going to go ahead and sign it off, get him castrated, get him out, and then I've got a few more farm chores to take care of today. So have a good one, folks.